background, and then
Yeah.
we'll work out of it. Then she can close it out.
Look, we just start. We ain't got no video or nothing.
To another edition of Grown Folks Business. It's a beautiful Thursday.
Can I tell you? It's still, to Andre's point, Jay Dwayne's point, it's still so prevalent. And I know I'm tired. I can't imagine what you guys are like being in that skin and like, damned if you do, damned if you do.
To another edition of Grown Folks Business. It's a beautiful Thursday.
Can I tell you? It's still, to Andre's point, Jay Dwayne's point, it's still so prevalent. And I know I'm tired. I can't imagine what you guys are like being in that skin and like, damned if you do, damned if you do.
And wholeness. I want to live a life without any lack. And that's my ultimate desire. And it's really about inventory, if you will.
Whatnot. And you get really busy and you get on a train track that just carries you through.
All right. Welcome to another edition of Grown Folks Business. Want to say we are missing our compadre Danya. Greatly appreciate everything he did here. We had a wonderful DJ, and now we got a stand-in. And Kaylee, appreciate you showing up. Thanks for being here, Meryl, the guy, the ship as we disembark, and I appreciate the time you have for getting us into a safe space with how we communicate here. But welcome, and I want to thank oh man, Doctor, man, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you, and I'm gonna mess up your name. I don't even want to say it because I mess it up every time. Go ahead, Meryl. You have a much better grasp of that.
Oh, Dr. Al Anubia, the man.
There you go.
The legend.
Yeah. Appreciate you joining, man. Been too long. Good to hear from you. So Jay Dwayne and Celeste, greatly appreciate you guys coming in here tonight to finish this awesome conversation. We actually lost a couple of people because they had family stuff to do, and that's what we were talking about. That's what tonight's topic will be, a continuation of the future of the Black family unit. What is needed for better outcomes. Bob said he wanted to make sure that I let everybody know, and that meant on air, that he was not dodging the conversation. He actually has family in town. He spent some time with his grandchildren, so we'll miss him tonight. But he wasn't running from the topic. He wanted to make that clear, and he didn't run last week, so I know he wouldn't run this week. Ajane has some things come up, but
questionable.
Go ahead, hit him with the candy corn.
No,
candy corn.
don't start, Jay Dwayne. Do not start.
So, but we do have Celeste and Jay here this evening, and I'm appreciative. So we're gonna do the dance and finish talking about the Black family unit and you know what's needed for better outcomes. That's gonna be the last question. So you guys give some profound answers, I'm certain. I wanted to begin by reflecting upon my Tuesday evening. I did a panel discussion on the desegregation of the school system, of school systems in North Carolina, and I had a really wonderful panel. And during that conversation and that discussion, Celeste, hit that mute button. Hit that mute button. There you go. Thank you.
Oh, I hit something. Sorry.
So we were having a discussion with some 7 people who actually experienced school desegregation, and it was a mixed panel. It had Black people and white people, but each Black person had a reflection that highlighted the family unit, the community, how teachers were an extension of their parents in the school system. So it was about the Black family unit in that conversation about school desegregation just as much as it was about anything else. So I wanted to share that here because, you know, in our search for the reasons why the future of the Black family unit is important, and why it deserves to be preserved and highlighted and centered, that setting gave me more ammunition for this conversation. There were people who saw their children through a situation, that saw their community members through a situation. And that situation wasn't just school desegregation. It was actually the segregation that existed for the years and years before and prior. There was a loving care that was expressed by all of the Black members of the panel that highlighted how central family was to their experience before desegregation, during desegregation, and after. So I kind of equated it to the understanding of a shared experience or a shared level of scrutiny in society. And it brought me to that place and space that I think we especially Black men on this call, and Celeste, you may have to inform me what it is for Black women, but Jay, Meryl, you guys know when you see somebody out there, salute to you, doctor. When you see somebody out there, that little head nod that we do sometimes, there's something to that that's official in terms of recognition of an extension of the Black family. And it's a comfort there. And there's if you have an audible moment, it's how you doing, brother? Something like that. There's something to that that I think is indicative of why we have to preserve the Black family unit, even if it's at the societal communal level. But yeah, there's something intimate about that head nod that sometimes you get, and you're like, oh yeah, we got some shared experience. We know what it is to be in this society. So last week we kind of left off with the question of what are some obstacles that make family preservation hard. What's going on, Steph? Appreciate you, man. I'm glad you can make it tonight. We need to get you back in one of the squares, bro. So what are some of those obstacles? Did we leave anything out? Did we leave anything unmentioned last week? Because it was a really good conversation, and I know for some of us, and I know Lisa was sharing about her journey, and she's always an open book, just like Jada Wayne. So yeah, were there any other obstacles that come to mind, Jay? Anything that you feel like we didn't get the chance to really unpack?
I think I know mine was the lack of education all the way around. And I don't think we understand how complex that is, even with dealing with trauma. Because like certain things still frustrate me. Well, like when I hear Black people say that Black people are racist towards Black people, like it's just like simple things like that. Like you don't understand what racism is, so it's even hard for you to identify it. And then it's hard for you to identify other things that do happen, and we lump things together because we just put them together in different ways. And then even when we're trying to explain what is happening to us, a lot of us get frustrated because we lack the ability to fully articulate whatever it is or express ourselves, which adds to that, frustration. And so if we can't explain what's happening to us, we can't articulate what it is that we need. And so it goes into like, it just keeps unraveling. It's kind of like that unraveling thread where it keeps pulling different things. And for me, a lot of stuff falls under education and the complexities thereof.
So much of what we discuss here comes down to, what's subjective and what you perceive is needed in any given situation. And, something I highlight at all times is that self-preservation thing. And sometimes that self-preservation is just about your psyche. And as you just stated, Jay, if you don't know enough, then all you're concerned and focused on is protecting the little that you do know, and protecting that bad feeling that sometimes happens when you have to humble yourself and know that you need to receive something from someone else. Go ahead, Jay.
It's just kind of like going to the doctor. If you can't articulate what's wrong, you'll tell the doctor what you believe is wrong, and they're going to look up in that computer or do a certain amount of tests based off of what you have articulated or what you have expressed that is wrong with you. The same thing happens when we're dealing with social and cultural issues. If we can't articulate what it is, a lot of times they will treat those symptoms that we have expressed, and that is part of the problem why there is no progression, because we kind of hone in on the same thing without pushing the needle forward, because we lack the ability to kind of fully express ourselves and understand what it is, or even the depths of what it is that we need. And so sometimes it's just a circle of the same type, a cycle of the same type of information or the same type of resources. It's kind of like when everybody have these cookouts and they always giving hot dogs and hamburger. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, we want to make sure we're serving to other people. They be like, well, chips are there. Or like in the South, when you tell people, like, I still get this with my family, I don't eat pork. And they be like, but this is bacon. You know, so it's stuff like that, you know, is funny. But at the same time, a lot of people think like, well, bacon isn't pork, it's bacon. You know what I mean? Or pepperoni isn't pork. So it's a lot of things that we're not educated on. And it's to our detriment when it comes to advocating for what we need.
Agree that there's so if you think uniformly about the Black American experience or the Black family unit, et cetera, there for one is definitely not a one size fits all approach, and that again that can be somewhat addressable by actually knowing what you know. So I do value, of course, I value knowledge. I value eternal learning. I've said that many times in this space, but yeah, it's just, it doesn't feel good all the time, Jay. It don't feel good. Who you talking to? Why you got to do it that way? And I don't understand. So I'm just going to run. So yeah, it's a lot that comes with testing yourself to expand, grow, and reach higher and all of that good stuff. There's Lisa. I said your name earlier. It's almost like a genie in a bottle, or, you know, through a penny in the wishing well. Glad you can make it. Good to see you, Lisa. So we're just finishing last week's conversation, of course. So, go ahead.
Before you go on, I wish I could stay. And I listened to you guys last week, but I can't remember. Did y'all talk anything about like the marriage and those type of things, like the two family, you know, 2-parent household, and all of the things that have changed in our country, or just like on dynamics of like why there aren't those?
So how about this
anymore?
Yeah. So how about this? I'm going to allow for you to answer this question, and then we'll come back to it for everybody else. But I like your input on it, Meryl, since you brought it up. So this question is, have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure? So that, I think what you're curious about kind of falls in there. So have you witnessed that? And is there anything that you think can be done to help? Have you witnessed the devaluing of the family structure?
Yeah, see, that's a really good question. I don't know if it's like devaluing. I mean, and maybe I'm too cynical about this, but I mean, my view on like the origins of why people were married is that you needed kids and human bodies to farm, you know, and so because if you are of Christian faith and you believe that it would be, you know, sinful or wrong to, you know, to have relations and that type of stuff unmarried, then you have this contract that allows you to be able to have this mate, and then you are able to have the staff that you create to farm.
Check this out.
And if you change and losing that, right? So and then there's this other dynamic of like, you know, the man has this traditional role to earn and all that stuff, and the rights of the spouse. You know, up until 1974, right? Like women that were married couldn't get a credit card unless the husband said it was okay. And so as things have progressed to where, you know, folks don't have to have that subservient role necessarily, then sometimes those unions fall apart, because if the union is based off of dependence and dominance, then the family unit stays together, and then you have all those benefits of having a 2-parent household. But when you get to a place to where somebody who may be at a disadvantage can exit and still live a productive life, then, you know, we have that type of stuff. But go ahead.
No, this is critically important. I think this will give you a different way of processing the question, because we did cover this last week. Some enslaved people were not married to people they had children with, and those children were not to benefit them as laborers. They were having children to benefit the establishment, but one of the things we covered in that, Marilyn, and I guess this kind of to rephrase or kind of reframe the question for you, they pursued their family members vehemently after slavery. After they were freed, the first thing majority of newly freed Black people did was put ads in papers searching for loved ones. So that's the type of familiarity or family we're talking about. I know what you're talking about, the practical side of the game, where wasn't no options for abortions or anything like that, and you just went and had kids, and like you said, you needed workers. But the other side is the more intimate and caring side of it. So that's kind of where the question comes from, because I'll say really quickly what we'll get into, but I wanted, since you're here for this time, Meryl, the fracturing and the devaluing that I can speak directly to is that 50s, 60s, 70s era, where it became, if you're a single Black woman, we'll take care of you, but you can't have a Black man in your vicinity. If you move into these projects, can't have an able-bodied Black man living with you. So that's a disruptor. That's something that really devalued the family structure in the Black community. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Totally agree. And then just and then something else that's just like not connected to like that immediate family, but like I see this in rural communities, across North Carolina, and I'm sure it's the same in other places in Black spaces where folks have access to land over time. And so like you see, they have the family burial. It's very important that the folks live next to each other. They do X, Y, and Z, and like this is real tight knit stuff. And then over time, as the children want to do X, Y, and Z and move out, then those families dissipate, and you don't have like that structure or like that group 40, 50 people that you can count on to support you along the way, because they end up forming their own kind of splinter. You're still in the same family, but you're not living on the same road anymore. You're not living in the same city. So it's like this part of the family lives here, this part of the family lives somewhere else. And so I noticed that just personally, like the love and support and kind of like and the circle of people that when I was a child that I could kind of rely on, that was going to be looking out for me, just because we had this, some similar last names and blood related and all that type of stuff, like that has dissipated. People form their own thing, and you're still part of the family, but you operate in your own little circle, and it loses strength, So like that rubber band I keep on talking about, relationship gets thinner and thinner and thinner, so you don't have a lot of flexibility to support yourself when you fall.
Yeah, we covered the fact that, in this space is family. So even defining what family is, there's nuance to that now that exists in terms of relationships that we are able to grow and nurture that are outside of our bloodline. When, I often say that proximity that exists when you're a kid, you don't get to go to the other side of town and make new friends. You're a kid. You're going to have down the street cousin that come over, and somebody up the block that's probably a bully that you don't really like, but you got to grow up with them, and that those relationships may not persist or be something that you desire to maintain. But I appreciate you sharing the time as much as you can, Meryl. Celeste, excuse me, Celeste, coming to you, any obstacles that you want to put on the table that we didn't get to last week?
Obstacles for the Black family, correct? I would say it's, again, our, Jay Dwayne, I see you. I would say that it's, again, our lack of understanding of one another as a Black woman and as a Black man. We have to learn that the Black woman of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, she's no longer here because she got some rights. She now has the right to have a credit card. She now has the right to have a bank account. Marrying a man and having children is not the only way to have a life for her anymore. Black women still do not have the same freedoms as white women, by all means. That is not what I mean when I say she got some rights. But what I am saying is that a Black woman was able to achieve some independence. Now, I believe it was Jay Dwayne, or it might have been, I'm still not sure of his name yet. I'm sorry, I'm still used to Danya. But I definitely agree with what was being said earlier about food stamps and government assistance programs and
housing projects. Those things are definitely true. I definitely believe that some of those programs were used to destroy the Black family and to separate one from another. And I definitely believe that the separation of, the family unit has occurred, and some of it was most definitely government and society manufactured. But I do believe that to rebuild it and to bring it back is going to take some knowledge of one another and who we are now, not the stories that we hear of yesteryear. So taking the time to learn the Black man of the 2020s, and that will be coming in the millennia, that will be a thing. Taking the time to learn the Black woman who will come in the 2020s and millennia is a thing, but also taking the time to learn ourselves. You cannot understand somebody else unless you truly understand who you are as a person. Lisa has very much further validated that statement in my mind, because how can you be with somebody? How can you love somebody? How can you try to understand somebody if you don't know what you want out of life either? If you don't know what you want for yourself, if you don't know what you are trying to incorporate in your life, and you don't know what you are planning to put out into the world, you need to know yourself before you attempt to know somebody else. So while we're planning on learning one another, while we're planning on learning how society has messed us up, Jay Dwayne is right. Learning what actual racism is and learning what also self-hate is. Because I'm not going to sit up here and say that some Black people just don't like the fact that they're Black, and then some Black people don't like the fact that they're Black themselves, and then they put that out on their Black children, and they marry people of different races for wrong reasons. A lot needs to happen with learning who we are, what we want out of life, what we want for ourselves, and dealing with some of our internalized and generational trauma. I have a mother who has a generational weight issue. She tried to put that off on me. I went to North Carolina A&T and realized nobody cares how much you weigh. You're going to have a great time in life regardless. If you're confident, you walk into a room like you own it, and you continue to eat whatever you want to put in your mouth like a filling. That generational curse was broken once I realized my mom ain't know what she was talking about when she was talking like that. And so I became a better person and healed my own trauma.
Celeste, you like to speed up when you see the cliff coming on. You just be like, I think I can jump this. But anyway,
you know what? It's not like y'all can't tell my mama I said it. She know.
I'll talk about you and anyway. No, listen, greatly appreciate you sharing. And I think knowledge is power. And I do agree. This is the conversation that I decided to create, to not have us doing the head bump dance around thing that we could be doing if we did the woman versus man type take, Celeste. So I'm glad you brought that back up, in terms of the recognition of Black women having evolved in the right sense of things societally. But, in talking about the Black family, which is why I decided to take this route as opposed to man versus woman, in talking about the Black family, the things that I shared, that was me that brought up the how the projects worked, how the man couldn't be in the household. Think together on that, and knowing that the separateness that we are tasked with trying to process and understand better today, the plethora of single mothers is something that had a catalyst and didn't just affect people on a structural level. It started to culturally affect people. It's a norm to celebrate the Black mother, even if the husband's in the household. There's this notion that Black women have this special place in our society as nurturers, even if it was forced upon them in certain points in our existence, whether they were in the household of a enslaver and forced to raise the children that weren't theirs, or whether they raised children that were theirs in a way that was hindered by the society that limited the ability of the Black man to be a provider in the way that the white man was a provider. That patriarchy has always been elusive to Black men. We've never benefited from it, yet we bear the brunt of all of the criticisms of it. So I have to make sure that's on the table. Lisa, coming to you. Any other? You shook your head last week, but you still said some wonderful things. So, any thing that you can contribute as far as other obstacles that we may not have covered last week?
This ain't the week, bro. I think I said that last week. This ain't the week. Okay. Because I'm going to go back to trauma. I don't know whether I feel like blaming it on generational trauma or just plain trauma when you just get booed up with the wrong people and you have a life sentence, not 18 years, but a life sentence. So I say this ain't the week because no matter how woke I may want to be, I still have to think about this that you are proposing to me about the plight of the Black family and what is my responsibility. And I was backing up and then moving forward when you were going into your dissertation a minute ago because I was feeling like you were going the wrong way, but I ain't gonna go there yet. When I'm feeling like, man, I just gotta protect so many people and I just gotta show up because I'm the wokest person in this Black family. Yet I'm feeling burdened. So what do I do? That's why I'm like, this ain't the week. So, tomorrow we having our breast cancer awareness recognition banquet, and I'm having to engage with someone that I divorced 22 years ago, yet I procreated 4 individuals with, that I have this life sentence with. So to Celeste's point, it's like, you got to pick carefully. Now, I ain't trying to throw dude under the bus, none of that stuff, but you make a choice at 19 years old, and then at 52, it's like, oh, the Black family, the Black family. I'm the mother in the Black family. So extending that olive branch over and over, and then recognizing that the Black man is having to come up against some things that I, as a Black woman, don't have to come up against, but so the plight or the barrier or whatever your word is, it's like, I don't know. Right now, I feel like it's just coming from all over and trying to find the right glue. So that's why I love y'all. Y'all my thought leaders, supporters, because I'm trying to be real careful and trying to I love Michelle Obama somewhat, but when they go low, it's like, which way do I go?
Appreciate that. You could, thank you. Stefan said, with all that being said, even when there are 2-parent homes, it's becoming increasingly hard to keep those families together. Divorce rates are sky high. How can we work on keeping relationships? Exactly. Good question, Stefan. That's the final question we'll get to this evening. We're going to get there. What is needed for better outcomes? Thanks for putting that back up, Kaylee. So Nia, glad you could make it. Just wonderful person that I've had the pleasure of getting to know, and who's done some really good things in the RELC space that I occupy, the other hat I wear. But she's watched and really appreciated Grown Folks Business and let that be known to me. So I'm glad you could get here tonight. She is actually an attorney in Virginia, and she's seen a lot of families that have had to deal with situations such as what we're discussing. So I'm going to ask you the same question. You came right in time. So what are some obstacles that make family preservation hard, especially when we're talking about Black families?
Right. Well, the reason why I wanted to jump in is, obviously what I do on a daily basis, I see Black families being split apart. You talk about the separation of the men from the women. I just want to give you some statistics that I'm looking at. So the percentage of Black Americans in the general population is 13%, but the percent of people in prison or jail who are Black is 38%. And most of my clients are Black men. Very rarely are there Black women, but of course, whenever they're Black women, That's equally a split of the family. I had a female client who was a single mother, and she was incarcerated, and she has 2 children. And so the question becomes, well, what happens with the children? Luckily, there are grandparents that are available, but still, the central family unit is really taking a hit with how many of our Black men are being incarcerated.
Yeah, so there's built-in booby traps, I'll say, to trying to do the right thing, trying to preserve your relationship. Again, when I say what's needed for better outcomes, and when Steph says, how do we address, the fact that we're still losing 2-parent households, divorce rate sky high. Yeah, there's all of these things that are set there for you to step on and to bite you or to blow you up. So we have to be, I think, that knowledge thing that Jada Wayne and Celeste was saying, we have to be aware of those things, and we have to be unified in our approach. So I'm jumping ahead. Nia, did you have anything you wanted to say before I got to the next? Okay, so I'll stick with you since you're still on mic. You can stay on mic. So I'm going to ask 2 questions, and I just want to go around the space. Don't rush, but I'm going to ask 2 questions, and you can kind of take your time unpacking, because I do want to get to the solution part of the conversation. But I asked Merrill this before he left. So have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure? You kind of just spoke to that. And does the world tell us that we will be forever unfulfilled? So does the world tell us that? And is that something that is something I believe? I wouldn't ask the question. That's something that I think adds weight to all of this. That this notion that there's always something better waiting right around the corner.
Yeah, well, the first thing I talked about was really about devaluing the family by taking people, specifically men, especially, out of the community. And in terms of what messages are communicated about being unfulfilled, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I think the messages that are being communicated is that, yes, the Black family is in trouble and we won't be fulfilled. And I think the messages that we're getting come from the media in large part. And I know that's definitely something that you're working on, Felton, and a lot about. But I think the messages that are communicated, even within our own community, and some of the content that's put out by certain producers and directors, don't shine enough, in my opinion, of a positive light on Black families. There's always struggles, there's always problems, there's always division. And that is more of the norm in what we're seeing and the stories that are being portrayed, as opposed to, more stable and healthy relationships in the Black family.
Absolutely. That being unfulfilled thing is inherent in a materialistic culture, because, I play golf, and there's always some new doohickey or contraption that's going to make my swing better than Tiger's. And it's not real. I'm going to be chasing it forever. And that's just the way this thing works. But there's no shortage of people that are going to say, hey, man, I got the thing that's going to fix it. So even when you get that shiny thing, when you get your person, as people like to say these days, there is the rest of the world is just caving in on you. Hey, man, you can always get something better. You're not fulfilled yet, but I can fix it for you. So that part. Lisa, coming to you, and again, I'm just putting these 2 questions together because I do want to have a bit of time for us to try to talk solutions. Have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure, and does the world tell us that we will be forever unfulfilled?
So, yes, I've witnessed the devaluing of the family structure because we get inundated with the options, right? And I can't even say it comes from good, healthy places, because especially in the Black community, we are set up in a certain way, because there are so many advantages to being in a marital relationship, whether it is lower insurance rates, whether it is better opportunities for advancements in your career. And what I have told people when I have guest lectured in my favorite class in sociology, marriage and family, is that if you go and decide to procreate, whether you participate without protecting yourself or whether you willingly do it, and then you go to an employer and say, trust me with this company, I'm gonna treat it right. That's an oxymoron. If you have not signed up and committed to showing up for an entire family, like daily, and I'm not talking about sending money, I'm not talking about weekend or even split parenting. There is something to be said for being able to wake up and see how a person brushes their teeth every day and being able to have that identity. So there are people who are projecting too many options and not understanding that we're losing our ground and our footing in so many ways, because it does benefit us, especially in Western culture, to have that little piece of paper. Because I mean, even Ray Charles can see that if you can commit, even trying, you can commit to, I'm going to give my best and I'm going to sign on this dotted line to a whole human being, then okay, maybe you can be trusted with the cash register. But if you create a human being and you're not going to commit to a family, I'm not going to trust you with running my business. That's just my biggest byline in that respect. So the options.
Yeah, I even, to relationships, there's so much energy and so many people committed to these dating apps and such, and that it's always been something that, I mean, I tried, but it didn't resonate with me because there's something missing there. And what you're talking about, Lisa, I think is time is the most precious commodity we have. And to be willing and desirous of spending it with another individual in some capacity, whether that's your significant other or a family member or kids or what have you, that's the most valuable thing you can share. And we've just kind of lost track of that some way, somehow. It's just not, it's not what it used to be. It's not as meaningful or as impactful. And like I say, it's just options. You got something else you can be doing, and why not go do it? But Celeste just dropped out for, I guess she'll probably be back. But Nia and Lisa, and Celeste, you all have some type of law school experience. So I got three women that know what they be talking about when somebody comes say something to them that's not the legality way of saying it. So Jay Dwayne, coming to you, man.
Wait a minute, can I jump in real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead, Lisa.
Jay, because I'm gonna tell you, to be dating at 50 and be a woman that's energetic and passionate, the most, and especially to be committed to wanting to date a Black man, the Black men in this age range that are wanting to get booed up, they've got some things going on, right? They done lived their whole life and had some fun, and then now they're needing a caretaker. Yeah, I ain't down for that. And then it's like, oh yeah, I want to watch TV. No, I'm empty nester now. I'm ready to go enjoy my life. So I'm gonna need to find, but then the options, the ones that are energetic and all that other stuff, they got the options of the 20, 30-year-old that they don't have to commit to. So I'm just putting that out there for y'all, but I never give up.
It's an honest evaluation, and yeah, that's the individual, right? Like there's something to a person who truly desires to engage in the fun of a relationship with the person that they desire to have that relationship with, and there's the person who desires to engage in the fun of multiple relationships. So yeah, it's something to it. You're absolutely right. Jay Dwayne, coming to you, man. Both questions, just go with where you would like. Have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure, and does the world tell us that we will be forever unfulfilled?
I struggle with the unfulfilled question. only because I think it's an individualistic thing, and it's also very it's based on, you know, your perspective on certain things. And I grew up, I think, in a technology era. I grew up in a time where I'm navigating through social media, and a lot of times when people talk about the issues that they see on social media, I don't necessarily get that, because I know how to unfollow. I know how to change my algorithms to see what I want to see. And I think that some people want to hop on social media and want it to be what's in their head, not knowing that you got to do it. Like, even people that I'm friends with, I will just, if they're talking some stuff, I believe in, you know, togetherness, but it don't have to be togetherness on my social media. And so I'm okay with moving those distractions. And I think it does take a unique discipline. And for those who kind of grew up in it, I think that it's easier to navigate. But also, I do think that self-esteem is very critical. And I think that that's something we have to exercise every day. I don't believe in healing being one singular event. I believe healing is a lifestyle. And I believe every day you have to work at doing those things, because something can slip up at any moment. So the unfulfillment part, I think that that's just case by case, individual by individual. And yes, you may get some people to agree, but I still think it's just more of an individual thing. As far as the unvaluing component, or um, yeah, I feel like it's always been there. I do feel like more eyes are on it. And I think as we get more aware, as we get older, I was joking with my mom the other day, like when people used to say, just live a little bit longer. I just think that a lot of us are in that era where we have lived a little bit longer, and the things that we were naive to or blind to, we're no longer blind to it. And now the fact that we have, like, we're able to see it, it's like it's on our radar constantly. And I think that some of those things that have already been here, I think because they have not been checked, they are just wearing the human tapestry out. And I can say that as a Black man, I don't think the Black man was ever valued. I do think strategically the Black woman was pent against the Black man. And I think that even down to the image of how a Black woman is perceived over how a Black man is perceived, I think that that was very institutional and systemic. Um, and we have conversations about it, but we really don't look at it because it's not really comparable. You talked about the patriarchal component. We are grouped in when it talks about all men, but we don't receive any of those privileges. The other part is whenever we're talking about minorities, all minorities are lumped in. We will single out women. We don't single out Black men and look at those statistics. We are at a place where when we start comparing data, where we will say more Black women are being let go if the unemployment rate, but the truth of the matter is Black men still haven't been hired. So they're not losing jobs. They're just not getting the jobs to get laid off. So it's not comparable data. And so it'll look like, well, a Black man isn't progressive. Well, even the ones who are not going to jail, why aren't they moving the needle? Because there's systems in place that have been created to make sure that people don't pay Black men any attention. And I can tell you that. And when we talked about the and I can go through this now as a divorced man, I had value when I was married, meaning the things that I did for my children, I was a good dad. I was a good this, I was a good that. But the very same things that I do when I did in my marriage, but now that I'm single, all of a sudden I'm incompetent of doing. You don't know what you're doing. Let me get this. Yeah, they automatically assume the worst. You know how many people have asked me, well, who cheated? You know what I mean? People just assume that a Black man is incompetent. When I went to the hospital, healthcare is my background. Try to tell me something was a policy. And I said, is that really a policy or your preference or your interpretation of a policy? Lady called the cops on me. You know what I mean? And I'm saying about my child. And then I have to stop to educate them because heaven forbid, I cannot lose my cool. I cannot get upset. I can't do any of those things. Then it goes back to what Neil was talking about. I constantly have to think about, Jay, keep calm. Make sure that you're very articulate because you could end up in jail at any given moment. And then we're not going to talk about those who act as if they're activists, but they benefit off of the negative isms when it's convenient for them. There are some people within our community, our localized community, who will say that they're for the Black family, but as soon as it's something happened that they don't like, they find a way to make sure those negative stereotypes and narratives are at the forefront and the reason for their uncivilized behavior.
Well said. On every aspect of that. So, yeah, absolutely. Neil was giving me some props for my attention that I pay to media. Media is one of the biggest culprits. It's one of the greatest dividers, and it's one of the most functional suppressors of any elevation of Black people as a whole. But definitely, it's deadly detrimental to Black men. It's terrible. But well said. And I want to clarify one thing, Jay. It was does the world tell us? That doesn't mean we have to listen. So I get what you were saying, but it was not with the intention of saying that people functioned as if it was a truth. It was, but the world does. I was just saying the world tells us that, and not that you have to listen.
Oh no, I got what you were saying. I just struggle with that because, and these are conversations that me and the males in my network have had conversations about as well. Like, I've never struggled with low self-esteem, and I've been fat my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, those things don't bother me. So like, if people like call me fat, I'm not offended. Like, it's a fact. I am fat. Matter of fact, I'm morbidly obese. You know what I'm saying? But if you say I'm not attractive, I'm like, that's a damn lie. You know what I mean? You call me stank, you like, no, we got to do something about that. But those type of things I never struggled with. So when we have those conversations, like, even if it is something that's saying you can't, it's something built in me naturally to say I can.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I got
it's
you.
like it's hard for me to deal with that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I know the world is hollering that from the top of the mountaintops for every little thing we do. You get a new car, hey, you ain't got this one though. You ain't got this new car. Get some new shoes. Hey man, didn't you wear them yesterday? Hey man, you didn't wear them shoes too much. So anyway, Celeste, are you still there, or is something going on? Okay.
I am very much still here.
Okay, two things I want to say really quickly because we always run out of time. I want to ask that each of you right now think of one or two things to just say in terms of solution, in terms of how we create better outcomes. I know education is one between Jay Dwayne and Celeste and myself. So just try to come up with one or two things to say. But Celeste, I'm going to give you these two questions. Please just, kind of get through it as quickly as you can, and then give us that one or two things for the best outcomes. Does the world tell us that we will be forever unfulfilled? And have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure?
I'm gonna start with the will we ever be fulfilled one. I believe we will be fulfilled, but we will have to cut out the influence of certain things in our life. You and Jay Dwayne mentioned media. Social media is genuinely the devil if you don't have your own knowledge and your own confidence in yourself. Baby girl, there is no way in this world that you are going to look like a better version of Beyonce and find some man that makes $9 million a year and he's going to come sweep you off your feet and be perfect and Prince Charming. I do believe that's partially what messes with the Black family is social media and what you think you're going to get and the realisms that come with it and the letdown that comes with it. And Jay Dwayne said something, and I don't think that because I am younger, significantly younger than some of the people on here, social media affects the Black family because it genuinely teaches women to either devalue Black men as a whole or only value certain Black men, usually that don't exist in real life. And what was the first question?
Well, I kind of reversed them, but yeah, the first question was, have you witnessed any devaluing of the family structure?
Again, I'm gonna say yes on social media. Like, I love the whole independent Black woman thing, strong Black woman thing, because Black women are all those things. But life does get easier for a Black woman. This is going to be the key part of this statement. When she has a partner that is equally yoked and on the same page as her, not stressing her, not devaluing her, not hurting her. And that goes both ways. It's just a lot of times when we get into that part of it, society focuses on the Black women that go through the struggle. I'm a Black woman, so I can only speak from that perspective. But I'm not negating that Black men have bad experiences in their relationships as well. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't type a whole paper about how Black men participate more in their lives than any other race and group of man. Like, Black men do it when it comes to their children. We just don't talk about it. But Black women also have a struggle when it comes to their partners and how their relationships go when they have children with the wrong partners. So a lot of it for me comes back to media and what we see and what we don't see and what we do and don't talk about. Yes, Black men and Black women have a situation when it comes to their relationship and how the Black man treats the Black woman. But I feel like there also will need to be a conversation about how a lot of Black women devalue Black men, and a lot of Black women are and can be physically and emotionally abusive in their relationships. Now, this is all women and all men, but we're talking about Black women and Black men. But I do want to feel like those doors do need to be open, because relationships get devalued both ways, and it turns into a two-way street.
No, that's good. That's a good observation, and I was being facetious, but I definitely I think we're getting through to it, Jay. I think we're gonna get it right, man. Hey, so
don't do that. Don't do that.
So let's cover around the space really quickly. I want to start with you, Jay. Then I'm coming to Lisa. Then I'm coming to Nia. Then I'm gonna finish with you, Celeste. One or two things that could get us better outcomes. Go, Jay.
Embracing who you are organically and stop trying to be something that you're not organically. True self-acceptance is one thing. And the other thing is taking moments to rest. And when I'm thinking about rest, I'm thinking more about reflecting and having those moments to really think about what it is that we do, because I think we're on go so much. Even when we sleep, our minds are still going. And we got to know how to rest and truly reflect and meditate on our next actions.
Yeah, man. We have like a 3-episode arc on introspection. I think that's critically important, and know yourself. Absolutely. Because when you know yourself, you can kind of get what you like. You'll actually attract what you like more so when you know yourself, because you avoid the things that you don't like.
Well, I clarified it to be accept self, because a lot of people know them, but they don't like them.
Ooh, dig it. Now, there are some places they could improve, so they might be there might be reasons.
Look, we'll go down the rabbit hole, because I'm like, well, you can't improve it until you accept it.
But touche. I dig it. Right. Lisa, couple of things that would create better outcomes.
I think if we commit to healing, I mean, commit to it, and that takes a level of acknowledgement that, hey, I need some healing, and then commit to our families. So if we heal, we get to see a different perspective, and then we commit to our families. So one case in point, really quickly, I called my last husband today, and I who is Lily's father, and I said, she's doing this dating things, and I encourage you to check in on her a little more, because she acts a lot like you. Because she had a first date, and then she had a boyfriend and whatever. And he was like, well, what does that mean? I said, I'm not, condemning it. I'm recognizing that just like you, when you guys feel pain or get angry, you don't come out and express it like I do. Okay. So I've committed to healing. So I'm not like at him because I'm mad at him anymore. I'm not mad at him. I recognize that our child has a similar demeanor to him. So although we're divorced, I am committed to my family. And so I could reach out to my ex-husband and say, hey, we got a daughter that's 18 and she's beautiful and she's, wanting a boyfriend, and she's not as expressive as her mom. she acts like you, and I'm gonna need you to connect with her a little more to make sure she's okay. So if we commit to healing, and then we commit to our families, doing the healthier things to take care of our families.
I love it, and I'm greatly appreciative, Lisa. I've seen it. I celebrate you, and you know that. That's that. Look, you said it more than I have in this space, but I can co-sign every bit of it, and I'm greatly appreciative to be along for this part of your journey. And you're right. You have a beautiful daughter, and if I'd have known that when I saw it in the church parking lot, I would went over and had that hey, you got to be careful. Guys ain't at that age. Nia, take us out of here because I think we lost Celeste. Sound like she was traveling, but a couple of things for better outcomes.
All right, so two things. First, keeping Black men in the community. For what I do in my profession, I deal with a lot of men, like I said, being taken out of the community. And so what I'm trying to do, what I'm hoping to continue to do, is to encourage alternatives to incarceration, and really working with community resources and giving people the tools that they need to remain in the community and successfully remain in the community. And the other thing, just not from a professional standpoint, but just from a personal standpoint, I just think we need to respect each other more. We need to support each other more. And, I think as Celeste was saying, social media, I think, and just in music especially, has played such a role in this, devaluing of each other, Black men devaluing women and vice versa. And so I think we need to stop that trend and really lift each other up more and support each other.
Well said. Mindfulness, I think, is the operative word in that care and exchange of respect that we should be doing and sharing amongst ourselves. Steph, go ahead and put it back up real quick, Kaylee. If you can. Stefan said, with all that being said, that's the one he said earlier, right? Yeah, no worries. So listen, this has been great as always. I truly appreciate you guys showing up and having some meaningful things to say. I really appreciate the audience, the guys that chimed in. Good to know you guys are out there and watching. And Celeste, I'm fairly certain you would have echoed everybody's last statements as far as how we can get to better outcomes. I'm a knowledge is power guy as well, and we got to be selfless and we got to be mindful in some of these interactions, and patience that plays a significant role as well. Thank you all. You guys have a wonderful night. As always, I'm super appreciative, and we'll do it again. Take care. Y'all have a good night.